Weaving is the life of the people of Pasay. It has been there for centuries already. But now we plan to give it more life, from ordinary mats to something more contemporary na maging part siya ng fashion. Lara is one way of revolutionizing the banig industry, but it does not end there.
Ako po ay si Anita Mindova Ogrimin. Ako po yung presidente ng Basay Association for Native Industry Growth, in short, BANIG. Nakakataba ng aming puso na global na pag-uusapan na ito yung ginagawa ng mga weavers ng Basay. Nung tulungan po kami ni Congresswoman Antan, umangat yung presyo ng banig. Sa ngayon, nakakatulong na kami sa pamilya namin. Pangarap po namin na magkaroon kami ng sariling processing center ng banig. Pangarap din namin, mas umangat pa ang buhay ng mga weavers at saka yung mga nagtatanim din ng tikog.
Gusto namin na encourage yung creativity ng mga Samarno, ng mga Basayinon para mas mapansin pa yung industry na to. And hopefully, it will alleviate poverty as well.
Good morning. Welcome to the second International Poverty Conference hosted by Summer State University, co-hosted by Northwest Summer State University in collaboration with the 9 Eastern Visayas State Universities and colleges. My name's Janet, your moderator. Before we kick off, please be guided by our online rules and etiquettes. Your name in Zoom shall appear coded by your honorific. First name dash affiliation. Example, Miss Janet dash moderator. As much as possible, please turn your cameras on all throughout the duration of the event. Should you have questions, please feel free to key them on our chat box. It will be addressed by the person in charge. Before we kick off, please be guided by the following rules and etiquettes. Here are the rules and etiquettes for today's session. First, turn on notification. Those little things may cause distraction to other meeting attendees. Second, turn on the lights. If you can, get proper lighting. Sit near a window or have a bright lamp nearby. Third, look at the camera when talking. I know it's a bit awkward at first, but the audience will appreciate eye contact. Mute your microphone if you are not talking. And once you've been admitted to the Zoom room, clear the space behind you. See if you can move your camera so it is directed to a wall or a clear spot. But since we have a virtual background specially designed to us, we are encouraged to use it. Please come early. If someone is late, there is no need to recap. Keep it professional. Maintain professional posture and appearance. Stay present. You might miss out on key information. If you are using your webcam, use attentive body language. And lastly, give some grace. Be patient with participants and allow some grace for any communications that occur. We hope everything is set on your virtual rooms, and we will be right back after these videos. At this juncture, let us invoke the presence of the Father Almighty. Moving on, we have here the recap of what transpired yesterday. The first day of the second international conference was a successful opening and a warm start for a fruitful three-day confab. We were graced by renowned speakers and guests, not only from our very own Philippines, but also from our neighboring countries all around the globe. We were joined by our partner collaborators, our very active SUCs of the Eastern Visayas. We have Northwest Samar State University, Eastern Visayas State University, Eastern Samar State University, Leyte Normal University, Province State University, Southern Leyte State University, Visayas State University, University of Eastern Philippines, Biliran Province State University, Palumpon Institute of Technology, and we have St. Paul's School of Professional Studies. We were also joined by the different state universities and colleges and national government agencies across the Philippine Islands. The day one was a heartfelt opening as we were warmly welcomed by our very community leaders, the Amayan Samar, Governor Michael Tan, and the ever-enthusiastic Congresswoman of the 2nd Legislative District of Samar Province, Congresswoman Shari M. Tan. And of course, We were also earnestly welcomed by the leading light of Summer State University, the mind behind every fruitful poverty conference, none other than SSU President Dr. Marilyn D. Cardoso. The day one international keynote speaker, Dr. Christopher Calloway, head of the public relations of the Massey University in New Zealand, talked about their country's best practices in the areas of risk communication and successful handling of the coronavirus disease. He also talked about how the local government unit plays a crucial role in strengthening resilience and minimizing risk, and how the academe shall assist the LGUs in providing appropriate education, programs, and trainings. Afternoon session came, and another distinguished guest graced yesterday's virtual event. We had a chance to listen to the inspiring words of one of the commissioners of the Philippine Commission on Higher Education, none other than Dr. Aldrin A. Darilab. In his afternoon keynote address, he talked about addressing poverty through education. He discussed the different ways on how teachers can address the needs of their learners who lives in the margins of poverty. And that is through changing the school culture from pity to empathy, deepening the understanding of employees, embody respect, embedding social skills in all lessons, and being inclusive. He also shared the different initiatives of CHED to help combat COVID-19 in partnership with the academe and local government units. Finally, in the last part of the afternoon session, we were joined by our fellow research enthusiasts in one of the highlights of this entire poverty conference, the competition for the most outstanding paper award. Yesterday, four researchers from the University of Terengganu, Malaysia, Visayas State University, and Samar State University vied for the title of the most outstanding paper award. And that was the recap of the first day of the 3-day International Poverty Conference. Today, we continue living and rising above the crisis as we take into the hearts the words of Commissioner Darilag yesterday, and I quote, "Let us continue to help free people from poverty in all of its forms." Poverty warriors, you are on board Organization Preparedness and Response to Crisis. We have 14 presenters for this track, and each presenter will be evaluated based on the following criteria. Presenters are given a maximum of 10 minutes to present their papers in their identified strand during the parallel sessions. After every presentation, a 5-minute question and answer portion will commence. For papers with multiple authors, only one author is allowed to present and answer during the Q&A. However, as long as the co-authors have registered for and attended the conference, they will still be provided the necessary certificates of presentation. The best oral presenter will be chosen from each strand. Best oral presenter of their respective tracks should earn at least 85% to qualify for the award. And the decision of the panel of judges shall be final and unappealable. The rating sheets are considered personal notes of the panel of judges and shall not be given to any contestant or requesting party. Judging shall be based on the following criteria. On the technical aspect, we have originality of idea, 10 points, appropriateness of methodology, 20 points, potential for the creation of new or advancement of knowledge and evidence of benefit to the area covered by the research, 10 points. And we have anticipated outputs, outcomes, and impacts of the research, included potential contribution to economy and social benefits. We have 10 points for that. Then quality of technical paper, 10 points. On the actual paper presentations, we have the following. Presentation, 10 points. Format presentation, 10 points. And we have the research salesmanship, which is 20 points, for the grand total of 100 points. And by the way, the awarding of the most outstanding paper and best paper presentation will happen on the third day, which is tomorrow. And to help us select our winners, we are graced today with the presence of our 3 panel of evaluators. From Southern Leyte State University, let's welcome the Dean of Graduate Studies, Dr. Ludito Ramirez, sir. Sir, would you like to say something? Do you have a short message to the group?
Hello, I just would like to ensure that I can be heard. Hello, can you hear
Yes,
me?
sir. We can hear you.
Okay, thank you, and God bless all our presenters.
Thank you very much, sir. We now proceed to our second panel of evaluator. We have the we have the graduate school, the Dean of the Graduate School of Eastern Samar State University. Let's all welcome Professor Ferdinand Abusejo. Good morning, sir. Would you like to say something to our group? Okay, let's just proceed to our third panel of evaluator. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we have the Extension Services Director of Northwest Samar State University. Let's give a warm welcome to Dr. Catherine Rodriguez. Good morning, ma'am. Would you like to have a short message to our group?
Hello. Good morning, everyone.
Yes,
God
good
bless
morning.
all research presenters. Can you hear me well now?
Yes, ma'am, we can hear you well.
Okay, thank you very much. God bless to all.
Thank you, ma'am. And I think we're all set. So the ball will now start rolling. So for our first presenter, let's call in Miss Nenelyn Erenea of Aklan State University, Ibahay Campus, Philippines, with her paper on disaster mitigation strategies among coastal barangay in Ibahay, Aklan, basis for disaster risk reduction and management. A warm of applause, please.
Good morning. I am Mrs. Nenelyn Bilagantol Erinea from Aklan State University, Ibahay Campus. So we have here the title, Disaster Mitigation Strategies among Coastal Barangay in Ibahay, Aklan, Basis for Disaster Risk Reduction and Management. So we have here also a short intro. The Philippines is the country that is prone to natural hazards because of its geographical position in Southeast Asia. Natural disasters such as typhoons, floods, landslides, and earthquake had greatly affected the country. Then we have here the traditional knowledge differs from the types of knowledge as it originated in the community. It is transferred through informal means of dissemination. It is collectively owned, developed over several generations, and subject to adaptation, and it is embedded in a community's way of life as a means of survival and well-being. We have here also the Republic Act 10121, or other known as the Philippine Disaster Risk Reduction Act of 2010, strengthened the Philippine Disaster Risk Reduction and Management, providing for the National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Framework and institutionalizing the National Disaster Risk and Management Plan, paved the way for the appropriation to aid the typhoon victims. Little is known and was not properly documented about how coastal communities in Ibahay have used their traditional knowledge to mitigate and cope the disaster. So we have here some of the traditional knowledge. So we have the Bodyong, the Anwang, and in the Rapu-Rapu Island. So the following here are the objectives. So we have three objectives. So first, what are the disaster mitigation strategies adopted by the respondents during the disaster risk reduction and management in terms of disaster preparedness, disaster response, disaster recovery, and disaster mitigation? Number two, what is the perception of the respondents on the role of disaster mitigation strategies in disaster risk reduction and management? What are the adaptation strategies adopted by the respondents for the disaster risk reduction and management in the community? So next is the methodology. So quantitative research design was used, and we have here 35 barangays, which is 10 of them are situated in the coastal area, namely Barangay Aquino, Ondoy, Tagbaya, Agbago, Poblacion, Aslom, Kulong-Kulong, San Isidro na Isod, and Bugtong Bato. So the respondents of the study are the 365 household representatives, which includes the fisher folks, the officials, the farmers, the religious leaders, association leaders, youth leaders, and the women organization. Then we use also the semi-structured interview schedule. So we have also, in gathering the data, we have the key informant interview, focus group discussion, observations, and then recording. So in the analysis of data, so we have the analysis, interpretation, data analysis, and community validation. So in table 1, so the results revealed that majority, or 358 or 98% of the respondents said that they are always buying grocery, and resulted to panic buying. So that is their way of mitigation, one of the mitigation strategies in disaster preparedness. Then also in figure 1, disaster mitigation strategies and practices in disaster risk reduction and management in terms of disaster response. So the result showed that out of the 365 total respondents, majority, or 358 or 98% responded that they always help other people during, and almost all, or 98% of them, all observe weather condition. So in figure 2, so disaster mitigation strategies and practices in disaster risk reduction and management in terms of disaster mitigation. So the study revealed that a big number, or 353 or 94% of the respondents always help in the hazard mapping, and many, or 61%, always attend trainings in the government. Then in reduction management, so figure 3, showed the perception of the respondents on the role of disaster mitigation strategies in disaster risk reduction and management. The study found out that a lot of the respondents, or 361 or 99%, said that they always rely on themselves in times of disaster. Majority, or 358 or 98%, always rely on the religion. And surprisingly, a big number of the respondents, or 97%, always rely on nature. There were 93% of the respondents answered that they always rely on the government. So, adaptation strategies in the respondents in times of disaster. So, the results indicate that a high number of respondents, or 99%, responded that they always do not allow swimming on beaches in times of disaster. So we have here the following conclusions. So the disaster mitigation strategies adopted by the residents during disaster risk reduction and management in terms of disaster preparedness. The residents mostly respond by buying grocery and seemingly practice panic buying, but they are inclined to prepare safety or medical kit, followed by preparing clothes to bring and tying up of their houses, then bringing the animals to a safe place, and lastly, they harvest crops early. With regards to disaster response, the residents help other people and then observe weather conditions in times of disaster. In line with disaster mitigation, the residents respond in times of disaster by helping in hazard mapping. Then they volunteer on the government work, and lastly, the respondents attend trainings of the government related to disaster mitigation. And lastly, with regards to disaster recovery, the residents mostly recover in times of disaster by relying for financial assistance from their family, at the same time relying on themselves. They also rely for financial assistance from the government, and lastly, they also rely to non-government organization. Number 2, conclusion, the perceptions of the residents of the role of disaster risk reduction and management showed that they rely first on themselves as well as the religion. Then, they rely on nature, and lastly, they rely on the government. Number 3, the adaptation strategies embraced by the residents for disaster risk reduction and management are they do not allow swimming in seas, they prune the trees around the house, transferring to evacuation centers, and lastly, is staying at home. So we have here the following recommendations. Local government unit of Ibahay, specifically the MDRRMO, may conduct enrichment seminars and training workshops on disaster mitigation and preparedness, and encourage the participation of the community members, especially in coastal barangays, to develop their safety practices and strategies in times of disaster. Number 2, the government must have budget allocation and disaster recovery annually to finance the affected families in times of disaster. Number 3, community members should preserve and sustain the disaster mitigation strategies and disaster risk reduction and management in their barangay through the production of IAC materials. So thank you for listening.
We will now proceed to the 5-minute question and answer portion. May we call in the presenter, Ma'am Erinea? All right, so we will just proceed to our second presenter. From Central Mindanao University, we have Journey Lumintao Jr.
Faculty member of Central Mindanao University in Bukidnon. First and foremost, I want to thank the Paper Review Committee for considering my survey research to be presented in the second International Conference on Poverty Alleviation and Sustainable Development. It's truly an honor to be part of the second International Virtual Conference. My survey research entitled Perceptions on the House Bill number 8858, amending Republic Act 9344 of lowering the minimum age of criminal responsibility, a survey among the household heads of the selected barangays of Valencia City. The minimum age of criminal responsibility became inconsistent across the globe, and the lawmaking bodies, including in the Philippines, are continued to be challenged in coming up with the perceptible solution for this problem. Although scholars have long suspected that the appropriate age for criminal liability should be anchored on the scientific evidences, there has a little research with regards to the perceptions of the household heads on lowering the MACR. That is why the concern of this research is to determine the perceptions of the household heads in the selected barangays of Valencia City, Bukidnon. The next video would be the objectives of the study, research methodology, and the results and discussions of the study. Statement of the problem. The study aimed to determine the perceptions of the household heads of the selected barangays of Valencia City, Bukidnon on the House Bill number 8858 amending Republic Act number 9344 of lowering the minimum age of criminal responsibility. Specifically, it answered the following questions. First, what is the level of awareness of the respondents on the House Bill number 8858 of lowering the MACR? What are the perceived advantages and disadvantages in lowering the MACR from 15 to 12 years old to the child offenders and society/community? And finally, do the respondents believe that children ages 12 to 14 years old should be jailed? And aside from lowering the MACR, what are the alternative measures for child offenders? Research methodology. For the research method, in studying the perception of the general public using the set of constructs as indicators, quantitative descriptive approach was perceived as a suitable method in the identification and description of people's opinion about a phenomenon from the survey method. So this is the three-level Likert scale for the awareness, and for the perception rating scale, we have the four or five-level Likert scale. For the respondents would be the household heads, and this is the computation using the Sloven's formula. And in order for the study to determine the respondents per barangay, proportional allocation was utilized. The research tool, the study exploited a random sampling method, and the questionnaires were distributed to the identified spots that is most influential in shaping a topic or perspective on an issue, because gatherings are usually conducted in these places. The data was collected through a survey method, specifically the self-administered surveys, to minimize the physical contact and reduce the risk of the ongoing coronavirus disease 2019. For the research instrument, the survey used a structured survey questionnaire. Before conducting the actual survey, the researcher first conducted a pre-test for the questionnaire to 10 respondents. So this will be the results and discussion for the study. What is the level of awareness of the respondents on the House Bill number 8858 of lowering the minimum age of criminal responsibility? As you can see, the general mean and the qualitative description is somewhat aware, and 2.19. The result revealed that the household heads had little knowledge about the provisions of the bill pertaining to lowering the MACR. However, they were not completely informed about the provisions of the proposed law, and this level of awareness was consistent in 8 out of 9 provisions of the bill. So for the perceived advantages in lowering the minimum age of criminal responsibility from 15 to 12 years old to the child offenders, The respondents' perception coincide with the statements on the advantages of lowering MACR with a general mean of 0.86 or agreed. They perceive that amending the MACR from 15 years old to 12 years old will be favorable to the child offenders. The respondents perceive that lowering MACR will stop or prevent children from reoffending. They also perceive that this would assure that the child offenders will be reintegrated into society. And lastly, they perceive that lowering MACR will prevent interruption in case the child offender is currently studying or working. Thus, all three statements were agreed by the respondents. For the perceived disadvantages in lowering the MACR from 15 to 12 years old to the child offenders, respondents were neutral in terms of the statements on the disadvantages of lowering MACR with a general mean response of 2.85 or undecided. Respondents were undecided on the three statements saying that lowering MACR will destroy the life of the child offenders because they will be exposed to juvenile justice system. Also, lowering MACR will make the child offenders create more crimes because they will undergo criminal justice system. And they are also undecided on the statement that says children or child offenders will be at risk since they will be subjected to detention facilities. Now, the result revealed that respondents did not have any strong perceptions on the disadvantages of lowering MACR from 15 to 12 years old. They cannot conclude on the possible negative implications if the children will be subjected or exposed to criminal justice system. In the context of child offender, therefore, respondents' perception and opinions correspond with the statements on the advantages to the child offenders, while they did not have a stand on the statements on the disadvantages for the child offenders. For the perceived advantages to the society or community, the results reveal that the respondents' perception coincide with the statements on the advantages of lowering MACR to the society or community with a general mean response of 3.91. The three indicators that were used to determine the perception of the household heads had the same qualitative descriptions. They perceive that lowering MACR will enhance public safety. They also perceive that it promotes peace and it will alleviate poverty. And finally, the respondents perceive that lowering of MACR will be beneficial to the society or community. For the disadvantages to the society or community, with a general mean response of 3.24 or undecided, the respondents were neutral on the three statements offered to them. However, the statement that goes, it will increase the youth custodial sentences, got the highest mean response of 3.71 or agree, meaning there were some respondents who perceived that lowering MACR will be disadvantageous to the community because prisoners in the detention facilities will increase. Meanwhile, respondents were undecided on the two statements that says it will create negative effects to the relationship of the people living in the community and it will create a hostile community. Given this, the study revealed that their household heads were neutral on the possible negative consequences to the society or community when children will be subjected to detention facilities. Thus, as in the case of the child offender, the respondent's perception coincide with the statement on the advantages of lowering MACR to the society/community, while they were neutral on its disadvantages. With regards to the respondents' stand whether children ages 12 to 14 years old who commit serious crimes should be jailed, the respondents' perception coincide with a statement saying that children ages 12 to 14 years old who commit serious crimes should be jailed, with the overall mean response of 3.82 or agree. All three supporting statements receive the same qualitative description. On the other hand, the respondents were undecided on the opposing statements regarding the House Bill 8858, with the general mean response of 2.53 or undecided. Therefore, the household heads of the selected barangays in Valencia City favored that children at this age should be imprisoned when they commit serious crimes. Thus, the study also revealed that they approve on the arguments of the proponents of the bill and the Duterte administration. Finally, on the alternative measures for child offenders aside from lowering MACR, the respondents preferred house confinement or house arrest as an alternative measure to lowering the MACR, with a total of 58 frequency counts. The findings reveal that aside from lowering the MACR, the respondents preferred house confinement or house arrest as alternative solution for juvenile offenders, meaning they believe that this measure can assist the child offenders in the rehabilitation process while they are serving their time for the offense they have committed. So in conclusion,
I'm sorry, we need to cut the video because it exceeded the 10-minute prescribed time period. So we will now proceed to the 5-minute question and answer portion. May we call in the presenter? Sir Lumintad, are you around? Sir? Let's try to call in the first presenter. Miss Erenea, are you on board? So I think the presenters are not yet around. So we will now proceed to the third presentation. So we have a paper entitled Lived Experiences of Fishermen in the Midst of Coronavirus COVID-19 Pandemic. So ladies and gentlemen, let's all welcome from Northwest Samar State University, Philippines. We have Marcus E. Boliedo.
Distinguished evaluators, officials, and faculty of the different universities, my co-presenter, viewers, good day to everyone. Marcos Aram Bolido, your presenter. My research study entitled Lived Experiences of Fishermen in the Midst of Coronavirus COVID-19 Pandemic. Why I decided to study this research? Because according to Tandavanit of 2005, subsistence fisher folks are prone to uncertainty and often characterized as the occupation of settlers in the coastal villages, and they belong to the poorest of the poor sector in the society. In most cases, fishermen do not appear and the social media on the awful effect of pandemic. The sector has a small voice in the community, for they are not heard, and most of the time, their sad experiences were not being given priorities. And yet, if this sector is affected, other sectors are affected as well because fishery products are needed by farmers and as well as all sectors in the society, according to Porcate 8 Alab 2020. The objective of this study is aimed to determine the lived experiences of fishermen and how they cope during coronavirus pandemic. The methodology and the research design, the study employed the qualitative design using Colizia approach through face-to-face interviews of 10 fishermen participants. It is the intention of the researcher to gain fishermen's perceptions, perspectives, and understandings of their life experiences during coronavirus pandemic. The results and discussion on how the data in this study were handled is shown below. Stage 1, transcribing. The interview was conducted and the residence of the participants, which were along the coast. They were speaking their native language, Waray-Waray, during the interview. The interview was recorded so that in the translation, the researcher will be able to grasp all the significant information. The recorded interviews were transcribed and translated into English language. Stage 2, obtaining significant facts. The researcher have markers and statements that are significant words and statements were numbered based on the degree of relationship to the phenomenon. Stage 3, 4 forensics. Formulating meaning, clustering implementing themes, describing the themes, and triangulation of the facts. The individual analysis, it sought to identify themes of participants' experiences. This began by searching through data for description of participants' experiences in the interviews. We identified the themes, we formulated meanings of the themes, we gathered significant statements from the participants and the different themes. First, participants in normal state. Fishermen are working 6 days a week, sometimes 7 days a week. Although most of them are subsistence fishermen, still they are happy since they survived and gave their family needs. Second, their daily incomes ranges from 300 to 500 pesos, which is just enough for their food and little savings for their children's health and education. Their access to food and other basic needs during pandemic. Government and other private groups like non-government organizations assisted with food and a cash grant. According to a participant, during the lockdown, we have nothing left. There are no works and livelihood we can turn to. We are literally idle. The government support and aids are no more. The effect of the pandemic to their livelihood. Fishing and other means of livelihood were stopped. The construction, or rather construction works, tricycle utility, closure of stores, and many other business establishments. According to Night et al. Of 2020, almost half of the world's seafoods comes from small-scale fisheries, which also employ 90% of the world's fishers, provide crucial food and livelihood in the coastal community. The income of the fishermen during the pandemic. fishing to be an important occupation that provided their main source of income to keep their families well and access to the basic rights in the society. Shimba and Musoka of 2014 articulated that during the closed fishing season, most fishers become economically handicapped. The coping mechanism during the pandemic. Family of fishermen did vegetable planting, do house helping, firewood gathering, and asked fish donations from big fishing vessels. Amid coronavirus, people coped with the food shortage by eating root crops and leafy vegetables and making rice porridge eaten with dried fish. According to one participant, early morning I went to the pier and asked some fish from my friends who went out to the sea. From the sales of the fish, I could buy 2 kilos of rice. I asked for credit from my store who can lend me goods. The family support during pandemic. The wife and children help each other to find livelihood options to earn money for food and other family needs. According to a participant, me and my wife helped each other in order to earn money to buy food. My wife works for laundry and dishwashing. The fishermen fare and worry during pandemic. All people were in a state of fear and worries during the pandemic. Most of them opted to stay at home. The culture of a Filipino of being hospitable and accommodating to relatives was naturally not practiced just to prevent the contamination of the virus. Fishermen were emotionally affected since they were worried about how to support their family while afraid of being infected by COVID-19. Machero et al. Of 2020 stated that a further potential source of trauma foreseen is social division, particularly between privileged and disadvantaged groups. The conclusion of the study, fishermen experienced unprecedented impacts of the pandemic just like other sectors in the society. Family also had a sacrifice by skipping meals, looking for alternative livelihood, and finding other means of income. Fishermen have been emotionally worried about how to support their family to survive and how they will not be infected by the virus. The recommendation, government and non-government organizations should formulate a mechanism on how subsidies and aids can help marginalized sectors such as these fishermen to survive this pandemic. A study on the experiences of the fishing boat owners and fish vendors during coronavirus pandemic. Let me leave you a message. In times of crisis and pandemic, resiliency and family support are the strongest weapons. Thank you for listening and good day.
Thank you, sir. We will now proceed to the 5-minute question and answer portion. Now, I'm sure Sir Marcus is around. I can see him. Now, let's call in Dr. Vito Ramirez to ask the question, sir.
Good morning, Sir Marcos.
Good morning, sir.
Thank you and congratulations for coming up with this paper. I just wonder how many people were involved in this research.
Sorry, the voice is not so clear. Slow.
Sure. How many are you? Did you work as a team or you just work alone for this research?
Just work alone, sir, because this is workable research. looking for fisheries of 10 participants, which already saturated for the questions needed on that research.
I just would like to know a little bit on details on how you gathered your data, because I understand that during this time, face-to-face interaction with our participants in the research is discouraged.
During the gathering of data, it's already scheduled by the participants, and it's already they're already advised to wear PPA or the simple PPA, the mask and face shield, and they should have allotted chairs, uh, observing the social distancing, and it was proceeded with a couple of questions on the interview, sir.
So meaning to say you did
Face to
face-to-face
face,
interview.
face to face. Yes, sir.
Okay. Another follow-up question. What happened now, sir? You have now the results. You also have the recommendations. Has there any plan of action, or have you already forwarded your recommendations or plan of action to the concerned local government unit?
Actually, sir, it is fortunate also that the city government of Katbalogan has its what we call contingency plan, how this pandemic to be answered or to be addressed in terms of what we call the enhanced community quarantine, which fishermen doesn't allowed to go out for fishing. They're not allowed to go to downtown to purchase. So there is already a talk between the city government that and they already provided relief and assistance to these fishermen, which I mentioned that they are overlooked sometimes, especially in the social media.
Thank you very much, Sir Marcos.
You're
Again,
welcome, sir.
congratulations for the job
Thank you.
well done.
Thank you so much, Sir Marcus, and especially Dr. Ramirez. We will now proceed to our fourth presenter from Southern Lady State University. Let's all welcome Dr. Francisco Boctot Jr.
Good day, everyone. It is my honor and privilege to be part of the Second International Conference on Poverty Alleviation and Sustainable Development 2020. I'm here to present the output of our study entitled Analysis per capita consumption of selected agricultural commodities among different socio-economic classes in the Philippines. I am Dr. Francisco Fizelda Butut Jr. from Southern Lady State University, Hinunangan, Southern Leyte. Agriculture plays a very critical role in the life of a given economy. In addition to providing food and raw material, agriculture also provides employment opportunities to a very large percentage of the population. As you can see on the status of agriculture in the Philippines, the tables show that there is a decrease in terms of agricultural performance from 1.08 to 0.67. But despite of the decrease, our government does the intervention, particularly in the Philippine agriculture. As published by DA regarding their statement of the August 2020 inflation rate, our economic managers attributed the decline in inflation rate in August 2020 to stable prices of basic commodities, despite the basket of selected goods and services dropped to 2.4% from 2.7% in the previous month. Department of Agriculture continued to pursue vigorous partnerships with the local government units farmers, cooperatives, and associations, the private sector, the major agri-fishery industry players. They assured that they will continue to ensure adequate, accessible, and affordable food to all Filipino families during this COVID-19 pandemic and until the new normal. There is no agricultural commodities available in the Philippines. With this, agriculture has been associated with the production of these essential agricultural commodities as food crops. Today, processing, marketing, and distribution of crops and livestock products are all acknowledged as part of the current agriculture. As we observe, urban dwellers are said to be heavy consumers of prestigious food such as meat, poultry, eggs, milk and milk products, while households from the rural area consume more of the cheaper foods such as rice and rice products, corn, and its byproduct. As question arises, who are identified rich or poor? As of 2018, the Philippine Institute for Development Studies identified social classes according to the following income brackets. Poor are those with monthly income below 10,957 pesos. Low income but not poor are those with monthly income that ranges from 10,957 pesos to 21,914 pesos. Lower middle are those with monthly income ranges from 21,914 pesos to 43,828 pesos. Middle class are those with monthly income ranges from 43,828 pesos to 76,669 pesos. Upper middle are those with monthly income ranges from 76,669 to 131,484 pesos. Upper middle but not rich are those with monthly income ranges from 131,483 pesos to 219,140 pesos. And those with monthly income above 219,140 pesos are considered as rich. Realizing the importance of data on per capita consumption as inputs in measuring total food requirements of the country and in conditions regarding food production and trade. Thus, this exploratory study using data mining was conducted and specifically aimed to A. Determine the per capita consumption of selected agricultural commodities of different socioeconomic classes in the Philippines. B. Generate the relevant information on the per capita consumption of selected agricultural commodities of different socioeconomic classes in the Philippines. And lastly, C. Identify and analyze the factors that affect the per capita consumption of selected agricultural commodities of different socioeconomic classes in the Philippines. This study was conducted using the data mining. The data used from this exploratory study was sourced out from OpenStat or CountryStat Philippines, of which free access data of the per capita consumption of commodities according to socioeconomic class were available. The said data was consistent and represent a good range of values with few outliers. The data generated for this study was treated using the data mining in findings for the specific objective. Analysis of variance is used to test the significant difference among means and to further test the significant difference among different socioeconomic class. Chuki's honestly significant difference was used. As you can see on table 1, on the per capita consumption of carbohydrate-rich commodities among different socioeconomic classes in the Philippines, it revealed that there was no significant difference observed in the per capita consumption of carbohydrate-rich commodities such as rice, kamote, cassava, and gabi. Significant difference was observed in corn and sweet potato since the p-value is less than 0.05. Although not statistically significant, but based on table in terms of rice consumption, the upper class got the highest, followed by middle class, lower class, and extremely lower class, respectively. This was best supported by FAO that urbanization affects rice consumption and households who live at rice consumption higher than households who live in urban areas. Rice consumption is also affected by season. Households belonging to lower class had rice consumption lower than households belonging to extremely lower class. Likewise, those households who belonged to upper class and middle class had much higher rice consumption compared to households under the extremely lower class. On the other carbohydrate-rich food, such as kamote, gabi, and cassava, follows the same trend of which the extremely lower class got the highest per capita consumption, followed by lower class, middle class, and upper class. The decrease in consumption of other carbohydrate-rich food was substituted or replaced by the increase in rice consumption. Corn, on the other hand, is the second most important staple food. Results revealed in Table 1 in terms of per capita consumption of corn shows significant difference. This means that there is significant difference between the upper class, middle class, lower class in terms of consumption. And it was recorded that extremely lower class got the highest, followed by the lower class, middle class, and upper class, respectively. This was best supported in some part of the country, like the Visayas region, like to eat corn rather than rice. Lastly, on white potato, results revealed that there is significant difference observed among different socioeconomic classes. The result shows that the upper got the highest, followed by middle class, lower class, and extremely lower class, respectively. The increase in the consumption of white potato, particularly on the upper class, is an indicator that white potato is a substitute in rice consumption. Change in taste and preference also affect the per capita consumption. As income rises, it allows consumers to diverse their food.
Thank you. And we will now proceed to the question and answer portion, which is 5 minutes. Let's call in Professor Ferdinand Abusejo, sir. Hello, sir. Are you on board?
Yes, ma'am. Hold on, ha. My internet is slow.
Sure, sir. No problem.
Okay, for the presenter, thank you for this presentation. My first question here regarding your data. Over how many series of years did you consider for your data, sir? Where's the presenter? Hello? The presenter. Sir, you are on presenter. You are on mute. Okay.
I am sorry, sir.
Sir.
Okay, sir.
Okay, just because we are limited of time, how many years did you consider for the data analysis for the data gathering. Oh, you're mute. Sir, please
sir.
sir, because you are muted, please off your video so that your internet connectivity will go fast.
Okay,
Just
sir.
on your mic. Sige. So how many years was that? Did you consider for
Okay,
the
sir.
data?
I consider, I think, 5 years backward.
What
I think
years? Specify what years.
from 2016 to 20.
Hello. Yeah, you're cut off. Hello. Moderator, because I know his internet connection is also slow. It's automatic when you are low internet connection, you will be cut off or your video will not function. Hello, sir. Are you there? No more. We can proceed. We can proceed, ma'am.
I'm sorry for the. Yes, sir. I apologize for the inconvenience. We'll just get
Oh,
back to the presenter later. Thank you so much for understanding, sir.
yeah, it's okay. It's okay.
Thank you.
Hello po.
Hello,
It's
sir.
back.
Are you back?
Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry with the internet connectivity in
Yeah,
our
yeah.
place.
No
We'll
worries,
just
sir.
move. We'll just go back later. It's okay. We are running out of time.
Okay, sir.
All right. Thank you so much, gentlemen. We will now proceed to our fifth presenter from Bulacan State University. Let's all welcome Miss Karen Rendeza.
Greetings of good health to everyone. I'm Kelly Redesa from Bulacan State University, Malolos City, Philippines. Presenting my study, the academic resilience school achievers left behind adolescents. Education is a way to beat poverty and to sustain a nation's development. The left behinds can also achieve in full. Left behinds are children of parents who are working away from home, like the overseas Filipino.
Hello. The audio is out.
Audio is not open. You cannot hear anything from the presenter.
Miss Janet, we can't hear. There is no audio.
work and and my son 2009 led that reinforces children's achievement. The Filipino culture is also depicted in this study. Grandparents take care of their grandchildren so that parents could go to work, earn, and live for the family. Not grandparents, it is aunts and uncles or other relatives of the left behind children who take care of them. To those whose father or mother is OFW, it is the spouse or partner who takes care of the children at home. Protective factors include family guidance, support, and opportunities for family members to get involved in the life journey of one another, hence reinforcing academic resilience, especially among students at risk, according to Rojas' definition.
We apologize for the inconvenience. The quality of the audio is not good, and at the same time, we're experiencing slow internet connection.
However, he was already was broken. Ana said, dito lang po sa Pilipinas si Daddy. Hiwalay po sila ni Mommy. My dad is just here in the Philippines. My dad cited. The left behind adolescents and their academic performance. Feelings of desertion and isolation affected academic performance, unhappiness, and worry among the left behind students, according to Machica Jr. and Montaliano 2018. On the other hand, correlation between the supportive relationship and supportive norms and the learner's average grade in Tolentino and Arcenas 2018 was seen. Children of unmarried migrant mothers are motivated to excel more in their academics because they invest in their mother's migration as a sacrifice, according to Debbie and Stats 2011. The study habits of the participants of this study include having study time at home, reading or studying lessons in advance to be able to participate actively in class discussions, accomplishing and submitting school requirements on time, having extracurricular activities to further enhance and maximize their God-given talents, keeping in mind always the rules and regulations of the school. For the economic prosperity as a positive effect of parental migration. Findings of the present study affirms the results of the other related studies that working abroad has a positive effect not just to the economy of the family of the overseas workers, but also to the economy of the country. Consequently, Rendenza 2017 finding said that having enough material resources to use for their studies reinforces academic achievement. Kate shared, ngayon po, maminhaw ang buhay namin kasi po nabibili na namin ang mga pangangailangan namin sa eskwelahan dahil may maayos na pong trabaho si Papa. We are enjoying now a better life because we are capable already of buying what we need, especially my needs. Napadala po siya ng pera sa amin. Napadali po. It seems that our life becomes better now. When our father is still working here, he earns very little. But when he went abroad for employment, our life became better. The academic resilience and left behind adolescents. Resilience is defined as a dynamic process whereby individuals exhibit positive behavioral adaptations despite significant adversity or trauma. Such challenges may be emotional, physical, or social stressors, according to Benatal 2011. In this study, the research participants displayed academic resilience mainly by taking their parents' overseas employment as an inspiration to do better in school. For the conclusion, working abroad to alleviate poverty and to improve the economic of the family is the main reason why there are learners who live away from their biological parents. Thus, the left behind take this situation as a challenge to perform very well in school. For the recommendations, one, conduct a follow-up study on the academic resilience of left behind learners with a larger population studying the change in the teaching learning modalities for school 2020-2021 from the usual face-to-face classroom instruction. Two, for the conceptualization of a program to empower the carers and the caregivers of the children in providing students, a study may be with the carers and the caregivers responded to the participants. This is all for academic resilience to still achieve left behind all this. And this is our that in this of COVID-19 pandemic, let us be resilient. Tayo. Ready si do not quit. Thank you for being in this presentation.
We apologize, but once again, we need to cut the video because it exceeded the 10-minute prescribed time. Let's now proceed to the 5-minute question and answer portion. And this time around, let's have Dr. Catherine Rodriguez of Northwest Summer State University, ma'am.
Good morning.
Now, do we have the presenter? Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, ma'am.
So you can hear me?
Of course,
Yes.
we can hear you well.
What about the presenter?
Yes, ma'am, I hear you. Good morning.
Okay, so thank you very much. You have a very good research, but there are just some questions or concerns which I'd like to be clarified. First is, what is your, can you first reiterate your title, research title?
Yeah, my research title is The Academic Resilience of School Achievers Left Behind Adolescents.
So you are more concerned of the school achievers.
Yeah.
They are achievers in the first place. Yes. Okay. So my question is, since this was conducted using a semi-structured interview, right?
Yes.
Was there a part of your research instrument, or was there a part of your research study that measures the correlation of their being left behind as factors for being an achiever? Or meaning to say, can you establish a result that would correlate that their achievement was primarily because of their condition right now?
My related literature or the existing studies would say that many of those I have read said that usually the left behinds are dropouts. So in this study, I would like to see if really all the left behinds are like that. So in this study, though this is very just limited, I realize that it is not all the left behinds would be not achieving in school, meaning they could still achieve provided that they have the protective factors. So this study would like also to stress the strengthening of the protective factors in the family of the left behinds.
Yeah, because that's actually my concern. Based on the presentation of your findings, it seems that you only presented their conditions as left behind, but there was no presentation whether their achievement in school has something to do with the scenario or the situation that they are in. No, and we cannot assume that simply because others have dropped out, that they are not also achievers. No, it could be part of your literature, but then you should have established a correlation of the factors that would have intervened in their school achievement.
One of the things that could intervene in their school achievement would be the financial. That's why the parents went abroad. So they said the changes would be before they cannot buy their needs in school. So now that their parents are already there abroad, they could buy what they need in school. So meaning their economic condition also supports their achievement.
Okay,
Yeah.
so thank you very much, Miss Presenter.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ramirez. And this time, we will give the floor to the next presenter. Let's have Rochelle France London from Palumpon Institute of Technology with a paper entitled A Proposed Cluster Model for the Use of English Based on Economic Development, the Case of ASEAN Member Countries.
Good day, everyone. My name is Rochelle France Aston of the Institute of Technology. My title of my study is a proposed cluster model for the use of English-based economic development in the ASEAN member countries. English is increasingly been dominant language of international communication. It is a vital element in the sense necessary for the successful participation of society in the 21st century. In 2007, the Association of Southeast Asian Nations declared English its sole official language, that is according to and Monroe 2014. Crystal 2003 defined globalization as an innovative process in which the global dominance of English is an important component. Specifically the study would like to investigate how the concentric model should be modified to a more dynamic one to represent the actual use of English with end view of proposing a cluster model for the use of English in terms of English proficiency and gross national income per capita of the ASEAN regions. The study was anchored at Casher's concentric model of world Englishes 1998. He categorizes the use of English into three concentric circles: the instructions in schools. Moreover, countries in the expanding circle, such as Indonesia, Thailand, Vietnam, Myanmar, Cambodia, and Laos, mainly used English for business and international purposes. The study aimed to investigate which of the members of ASEAN countries can be grouped in terms of the English Proficiency Index and gross national income per capita. Further, the study measured the extent of relationship between EPI and GNI among the classified members of the ASEAN countries with the end in view of proposing a cluster model for the use of English in the ASEAN member countries. The study utilized a descriptive research design using the cluster analysis in order to group ASEAN member countries. A data mining technique was used in order to collect data from various available sources from the internet. Data in English proficiency and gross national income per capita for the year 2018 were gathered from EF Education First. The study focused only on the 9 ASEAN member countries since there were no available data gathered on the English Proficiency Index of Brunei in 2018. For the results and discussion, the result of the study shows that there were 3 clusters that were generated for the 9 ASEAN countries. They were grouped according to their gross national income and English Proficiency Index. The figure shows a cluster model observation of the 9 ASEAN countries to identify new groups in a data set as compared to Cashier's classification model. Cluster 1 contains 2 observations. These are the Philippines and Malaysia. Cluster 2 contains 6 observations, which includes Indonesia, Thailand, Vietnam, Myanmar, Cambodia, and Laos. Cluster 3 has only 1 observation, which is Singapore. Cluster 1 shows the characteristics of a high EPI but low in GNI. Moreover, Cluster 2 has both significantly low in EPI and GNI. Cluster 3 has both high in EPI and GNI, which is almost twice the English Proficiency Index of Cluster 1. The figure shows the association of the different countries that have similar trends in their EPI and GNI. The figure above shows the association of the different countries that have similar trends in EPI and GNI. Based on the plot, there are 6 countries like Indonesia, Thailand, Vietnam, Myanmar, Cambodia, and Laos, which have the same characteristics wherein both EPI and GNI are low relative to Singapore's EPI and GNI. On the other hand, Philippines and Malaysia both have the same characteristics and features, which have an EPI a little lower to Singapore's EPI and has significantly lower in GNI. The plot also indicates that Singapore is the only ASEAN country which has a very high EPI and a very high GNI as compared to other ASEAN countries. Moreover, there is a significant positive correlation between the EPI and GNI. This means that if a country has high English Proficiency Index, this also indicates that the country will most likely have high GNI. An elliptical cluster model of the use of English became the output of the study, and this is the result, or this is a proposed cluster or elliptical cluster model that was generated, which can be applicable everywhere, and it's more refined because given the GNI, we can predict the EPI of a country compared to Cashier's concentric circle model, which only classifies country based on the extent of colonization from the countries in the inner circle. The new model, on the other hand, can be used easily to classify how English is used to increase the gross national income per capita, especially in the case of the ASEAN region. Further, the model generated from the result of the study shows a trickle-down effect from the top cluster that has a very high EPI and GNI to the lower cluster, which is the characteristics of low EPI and low in GNI. This implies that countries in the middle and bottom cluster will look into consideration the different characteristics in the top cluster, in which there is a possibility that if a country has a very high EPI, the GNI of a country will more likely also increase. The study explored on how ASEAN countries use English and can be classified or categorized based on their English proficiency index and gross national income per capita by using cluster analysis. Moreover, the model generated based on the result of the study shows that there is a more refined and precise model for English language proficiency, which is linked to the gross national income of a country. Furthermore, the elliptical cluster model can be used easily to classify how English is used to increase the gross national income per capita for each country. And that will be all. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And we will now proceed to the 5-minute question and answer portion. So for this paper, let's have our first panel of evaluator, Dr. Ramirez, sir.
Hello. May I know if our presenter is now on board?
Yes, sir, I can see her. She's on board. Hello,
Okay.
ma'am. We cannot hear you.
Hello, good morning. Sorry.
It's okay. We can now hear
Okay.
you.
Hello? Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Hello, sir. Good morning.
Ramil, you are muted, si Ramil. We cannot hear you. Muted ka, sir.
Hello, Ma'am Rochelle.
Dr. Ramirez, okay.
Hello, Ma'am Rochelle. Can you hear me?
Not really, sir. Your voice is too low.
Okay, that one. Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for presenting an interesting study. However, I
Thank you,
just
sir.
would like to know what or how do you call the emerging concepts describing, now that you were able to describe the characteristics of the three clusters of the ASEAN countries, as you compare the EPI and GNI. Doon kasi ako nabitin eh. So you just said high EPI, low GNI, low EPI, low GNI, and high EPI, high GNI. How do you call these clustered countries? Or were you did you reach that level that you have to come up with an emerging concept for each of the clusters? Hello, nabatian. I clearly hear the response by the presenter. Nawala ano? Hindi niya narinig yung question ko.
Yes, sir. For some reason, we lost the presenter.
So anyway, balik lang tayo sa kanya mamaya.
I'm sure, sir. Don't worry. We will get back to the presenter once she's on board. All right. So this time around, we will proceed to our 7th presenter this morning. From Summer State University, let's have Donita B. Mabonga.
Good day, everyone. I am Donita B. Mabonga, a graduating student from the Graduate School of Samar State University. Today, I will present to you my study entitled Blended Instruction for swimming education in a countryside setting. In this 21st century, learners are undeniably empowered with the use of technology and access to internet, which makes teaching and learning process nowadays more challenging. So through blended instructions, students' capabilities and advanced skills towards technology tend to be maximized or used for learning purposes. Blended learning provides a more adaptable learning components such as flexible learning environment, students' diversity, global experiences, and efficiency towards students' learning performance. It also increased the performance of the students compared to what is commonly used instructions like the traditional approach. So basically, blended learning provides learning experiences which are both internet-based, self-paced, and face-to-face based. According to Killian et al., 2019, blended learning instruction could be an appropriate solution in addressing the limited learning opportunities of the learners for a quality learning in physical education, and that it seemed to contribute a positive learning experiences to students. However, though blended learning seemed to contribute more learning opportunities, still there is a lack of study on how a specific blended learning instructional design would benefit the students towards swimming education, most especially in a countryside setting. So the present study aimed to develop and evaluate two blended instructional designs, whether which among the two designs would be an effective blended learning for swimming education. So the flipped classroom has a fixed rotation, where the topics are delivered online and the application of the lessons they have learned would be done in an actual or face-to-face setting. While the flex blended, the topics are delivered mostly online, even in face-to-face setting or even outside class setting. Teachers in Flex Blended facilitate the students while doing their tasks at their own pace of time. So the purpose of this study is to provide a more exciting and meaningful learning to students in swimming education through the use of blended instruction. Also to help improve the teaching strategies for physical education, specifically in swimming. This study is also useful for swimming coaches who aim to explore a blended instruction for swimming training. So, objectives of the study. The study aims to assess the effectiveness of the blended instruction design for swimming education in a countryside setting. Specifically, it will determine the characteristic of the learning environment in terms of the following variables: ownership of gadgets, internet connectivity, technology literacy, and engagement to instructional designs. Second, it will develop developed the following blended instructional design for swimming education: flipped classroom design, flex blended learning design. It also evaluate the significant difference between the performance of the students in the flipped classroom design and flex blended learning design for swimming education. And it determine the significant relationship between the characteristics of the learning environment and the performance of the students in flipped classroom and in flex blended learning design for swimming education. So in methodology, the study employed quantitative approach with the use of quasi-experimental research design. The independent variables of the study were flipped classroom design and the flex blended learning design, while the dependent variables were the result of the students' performance in terms of written and practicum test scores. The study was conducted in Samar State University Mercedes campus. So the study focused on developing two blended instructional designs for swimming education, namely the flipped classroom design with 30 participants and for flex blended design also 30 participants. The two developed blended learning designs was evaluated by its effectiveness based on the results of the written and practicum performance of the students as well as their engagement towards the characteristic of the learning environment such as the ownership of gadgets, internet connectivity, technology literacy, and engagement to the developed instructional design. The study also assessed the significant difference between the performance of the students and its relationship towards the characteristic of the learning environment in flipped classroom design and in flex blended learning design. Instrumentation. So the main instruments used to gather the needed data for this study are modules, rubrics, and survey questionnaire. Sampling procedure. In drawing the participants of the study, a convenience sampling procedure was used. It was used because of the availability of the students who were convenient only to participate in the study. Since the study requires practicum every once in a week. The sampling procedure consisted of 60 freshman college students, which were divided into two groups, 30 for flipped classroom design and 30 for the flex blended design. Results and discussion. So the results showed that the average scores from written and practicum for flipped classroom design is significantly higher than the flex blended instructional design. It is because in flipped classroom design, it enables critical learning and permanent active participation due to its fixed rotations, which is applicable in swimming education. Significant factors affecting performances. So this is the analysis of factors that affect the performance of the students in flipped classroom and flex blended instructional design. So as you can see, the internet connectivity, technology literacy, and engagement to the instructional design has a significant relationship for written results in flipped classroom and flex blended instructional design. It is because internet connectivity plays a major role in online learning as well as the technology literacy of the learners. However, pre-tests shows its significance to practicum results for flipped and flex blended instructional design due to an intense learning environment for students that made them improve their knowledge and psychomotor skills. So for the conclusion of the study, the study concluded that the use of blended learning instruction, typically the flipped classroom instructional design, can be very useful in learning swimming. The advantage of this approach is that it offers varied learning opportunities to students. However, limited gadgets and poor internet connection in some areas could be a big challenge in adapting blended learning instruction. For the recommendation, the study recommends to have further studies among other different blended learning approaches, which can also be applied for swimming education because the current study only focused on two blended instructional design. It also recommends to be conducted to other schools as well in order to have a huge number of participants. So thank you so much for listening.
And we will now proceed to our Q&A portion. This time around, let's give the floor to Professor Ferdinand Abusejo, sir.
Okay, thank you. I will not just on my video so that my internet will be okay. Ma'am, for the presenter, I would like to ask first, your 30 participant students, were they from one section each? Meaning each section was really 30 students enrolled? Hello?
Miss Mabonga. Hello, ma'am.
Oy.
Are you with us?
Maybe he left because she has presented already.
She was on board a while ago, sir.
Hello, ma'am. Are you there? Oh, what now?
It's okay, sir. We'll just get back to the presenter.
Yeah, because
later.
I have really questions for her experimental quasi. Sige.
I understand. Don't worry. We will give time to that. All right. And this time, let's proceed to the next presenter from Northwest Samar State University. We have Gerald Malabaras.
To respected panel of evaluators, good day. Allow me to present the fact and satisfaction level among members of Rosario's Women Cooperative. To start with the introduction, it says that over a century here, the cooperative is said to be an effective platforms for people to improve their economic livelihoods and serve as a government tool in achieving economic goals for a competitive global economy. As presented here in these slides, there are other definitions of cooperative as presented by the different literature. Accordingly, in most countries, it is reported that cooperatives played an important role in their agricultural development, by which the cooperative supplies farm-produced products, commodities, and services, and it gives improvement to the socio-economic well-being among members. Those literatures support the International Labour Organization in 2017 claim as they reported that cooperatives are sustainable enterprises, and they recognize cooperatives served as a platform of implementation for the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and Sustainable Development Goals and other private sector enterprises. In the Philippines, Republic Act number 6938, known as Cooperative
I apologize, but there is a problem with the video. So instead, let's just proceed to the next presenter. So we have Ara Joy Pacoma with her paper entitled Contextualizing Meanings, the Subjective Understanding of Resilience in a Post-High-End Context in Tacloban City. Ladies and gentlemen, from Lady Normal University.
Hello everyone, I'm Arjay Pacoma from Leyte Normal University, and I will be presenting to you our paper entitled Contextualizing Meanings, the Subjective Understandings of Resilience in a Post-High-End Context in Tacloban City. My co-authors are Dr. Yvonne Su from York University in Canada and Ms. Angeline Notiva from Visayas State University. My presentation is outlined as follows. First is the introduction, then the objectives of the study, followed by the methodology, results and discussion, and lastly, conclusion and recommendations. The Philippines as an archipelagic state has been vulnerable to hazards such as typhoons, of which the country experienced the world's strongest typhoon, Typhoon Haiyan, on November 8, 2013. It's also vulnerable to earthquakes, landslides, and volcanic eruptions. The increasing incidence of disasters in the Philippines has elicited the need to draw the country closer to a more transparent understanding of post-disaster resilience. The increased use of the concept of resilience in the context of disaster, however, has triggered a concern for humanitarian organizations on how to define and operationalize it. Despite the resilience-oriented interventions made by humanitarians in Tacloban City, Haiyan-affected households still perceive resilience based on their local contexts, anchored on their needs and priorities. Taking this into account, this study examines the conceptions and articulations of resilience of disaster-affected people from the grassroots in Tacloban City. This study also aims to further contribute to defining and operationalizing resilience for humanitarian organizations. Specifically, we answer the following questions. How do disaster-affected households understand resilience after Typhoon Haiyan? And how do food, financial capacity, and psychosocial status influence these contextualized meanings of resilience? This study employs two of the 7 dimensions of resilience presented by Tulane University's Disaster Resilience Leadership Academy and State University of Haiti, namely wealth and psychosocial status. Although the other dimensions are also important for the resilience framework, wealth and psychosocial status were considered as priorities and most significant to restore by Tacloban households to achieve household resilience. Hence the focus of this study. Wealth is by far the greatest predictor of most other dimensions, and psychosocial status allows for key findings around the effects of disaster on people's psyches, which may not be limited to the trauma of the event itself. In order to achieve the objectives of this study, this research involved a qualitative inquiry that focused on investigating households' local perceptions of resilience in a post-Haiyan context. The research locale is a barangay in Sagkahan, Tacloban City, which was one of the barangays that was greatly devastated by Typhoon Haiyan, being situated just a few meters away from the sea. For the data collection, a sampling weight worth 10% of the total number of residents was applied. We utilized the simple random sampling procedure in identifying individual participants. We conducted 2-hour semi-structured interviews, which brought us to 31 household interviews. Given the exploratory nature of this study and the need for more in-depth anthropological or grounded approaches to better understand why respondents define resilience the way they do, this study does not claim to provide those answers. Now, for the results and discussion, I divided it into 2 parts. First is the household's concept of resilience under the indicators of wealth dimension, that is food and financial resilience. Secondly, affected households' contextualized meanings of resilience under the psychosocial dimension. The table presented provides a breakdown of percentage of participants that cited various subjective understandings of resilience. This will be expounded in the next slides. For food resilience, the frequency of meals, kinds of food, and support from household social capital are factors participants consider in how they form their understanding and conception of resilience. Participants eating 3 to 4 meals a day perceive their households as food resilient, whereas participants consuming only vegetables consider themselves as least food resilient. As one respondent mentioned, diri gud madig-on kay puro lautan, waray magrasa nga pagkaon. Having social capital was also important for participants in contextualizing resilience. Most participants reported that their food resilience was built around the food assistance provided to them by their own social ties. Similar to other studies, we found that local and translocal ties have built household resilience by sharing food, sending money for meals, and or accommodating survivors immediately after disaster. Consequently, for financial resilience, instability of jobs and irregular income significantly influenced understanding financial resilience. Almost all participants argued that financial resilience cannot be built because of first, inadequacy of financial resources or the lack thereof, and the instability of jobs. A previous study of conceptualizing and measuring financial resilience found that the extent to which people have sufficient resources to meet their basic needs and to anticipate and respond to inevitable change and disruption is a core factor of resilience. Additionally, access to financial resources was indicative of both preservation and restoration of households' functions after disaster. Most respondents most respondents' perception of financial resilience is built around the household's access to material and social resources from their own social ties. Finally, for psychosocial resilience, advices, exchanges of experiences, personal care from the household's ties are significant factors in how households understood and contextualized psychosocial resilience. Participants revealed that the psychosocial support they received helped lessen disaster-induced anxieties and stress. However, we also found out that the incessant stress and trauma that household members experience at the signs of hazard, such as strong winds and heavy rains, is also an important factor in how participants contextualize meanings behind psychosocial resilience. Household members who experience feelings of worry and dread as an after effect of the typhoon understood the risk behind mental and emotional stress associated with natural hazards. To conclude, high-end affected households embodied their own local perceptions of resilience, despite the various resilience-oriented interventions promoted by humanitarian organizations. These local perceptions were influenced by food and financial capacity as well as psychosocial status. Moreover, the subjective understanding of resilience emphasized local leadership through the promotion of local viewpoints and yet being able to access social support when needed. But most importantly, a holistic understanding of resilience, disasters, and climate extremes should consider local viewpoints with the indicators presented by an objective framework for measuring resilience. This is because building resilience is context dependent. The social and cultural context of disasters and the local people's perceptions should be incorporated in order to enhance the ability of households or household members to rebuild better in times of crisis. That is the end of my presentation. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you, Ma'am Pacoma. Are you on board?
Yes, ma'am, I'm on board. Hello,
All
everyone.
right,
I'm Arjun.
then we will have Dr. Rodriguez to ask the question. Hello, Ma'am Rodriguez. Please unmute your mic.
Okay, good morning. Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am, I can
ma'am.
hear you.
Okay, so the presenter has presented a very comprehensive research paper on resilience. In fact, I could not find any good question for you, but maybe this one na lang. Since you are saying that the definition and understanding of resilience is context-based, so, and then because of this one, they have their own definition now of what resilience would be in their context, then what would be now your concrete recommendations as far as interventions coming from agencies, for example, not just particularly the national government or the government per se, but also some other organizations like the non-government organizations, so that these interventions would be in their context, so that they build their resilience at times, for example, during disasters?
Thank you, ma'am, for the question. Actually, the research paper was mainly for humanitarian organizations or non-government organizations focusing on resilience projects or resilience programs after crisis or in times of crisis. My concrete proposal to humanitarian organizations or non-government organizations is to include non-experts' perspectives into their objective frameworks of resilience, because usually these frameworks of resilience are done mostly by experts who are not even or do not even know the context of, for example, resilience in this particular locale. So what I'm
Was
saying is that, or my, yes, ma'am.
was that recognition recommendation part, or it's already embedded in your paper?
Yes, ma'am. In
Okay.
in my full paper, ma'am, I actually emphasized that this paper is for humanitarian organizations, especially non-governmental organizations who are doing resilience programs or resilience projects. This is because mostly we have objective frameworks of resilience. And sometimes we do not consider, or the humanitarian organizations do not even consider the non-experts' perspective or local viewpoints of resilience, which makes it even harder for local households to rebuild better in times of crisis or after natural disasters.
Okay, thank you very much. That was well said. Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank you,
much,
ma'am.
Dr. Rodriguez and Ms. Tacoma. So this time, we have a paper entitled A Development Theory on Enhancing Junior High School Students' Academic Performance. Ladies and gentlemen, from Summer State University, let's have Archimedes Pabiliar.
Good morning, everyone. To everyone who is virtually present, are you hearing me? Ma'am, are you hearing me?
Yes, sir, I can hear you.
Okay, okay. So I am Archimedes and Familiar, a secondary school principal in the division of Catbalogan City. Let me present to you my research entitled A Development Theory on Enhancing Junior High School Students' Academic Performance. Wait.
Sabi ng Ed, hindi na sila umaasa ng milagro sa resulta ng PISA dahil mababa ang mga score ng mga estudyante sa National Achievement Test. Sumali sila sa PISA para umano malaman kung ano ang estado ng edukasyon ng Pilipinas kung ikukumpara sa ibang bansa.
In the National Achievement Test result of Catbalogan City Division and Summer Division, it revealed that both SBM and non-SBM schools shows no significant difference. For instance, a non-SBM schools performed better than the SBM schools. Why is this so? How do we know that we are giving the right interventions to our students? This research explored SBM and non-SBM public junior high schools in two selected school divisions on the factors influencing students' achievements. It aims to produce a model of a school system that helps improve students' performance. The development theory on enhancing junior high school students' academic performance. Good afternoon, Sir Alex. Good afternoon, sir. I am Archimedes Familiar, a student from Summer State University. Recently, I am conducting my dissertation about development theory on enhancing junior high school students' academic performance. The study utilized a case study design, and the analysis of the case interviews used grounded theory or deductive inductive analysis. The instruments used in this study are researcher-made questionnaires, document review, and open-ended interview guides on the practices of SBM and non-SBM schools in the division of Samar and Catbalogan City, which reinforced each evidence in a triangulation process. The sampling design of the study, which assures critical case representation as well as description for the selection criteria, is presented in Table 1. Table 1 shows that a total of 36 individual cases was targeted in the study. Each of these cases was critically positioned in the purview of the phenomenon under study. Table 2 shows the actual schools and participants that took part in the study. The table shows the division, their NOT scores, and the distinction between the SBM and non-SBM schools. A total of 38 participants were covered in the study. 10 high-performing and 6 low-performing students were interviewed, and 11 for teachers and 11 for principals or school heads. The third interview which I conducted is from Division of Catbalogan City, an SBM school, on March 2, 2020 in the afternoon. All respondents from the school were very participative and willing to help my research because according to them, it can help improve our educational system in the country. From the level of the school head, he gave emphasis on his leadership style in improving students' academic performance, and it was supported by the teacher respondent and student respondent.
My initiative. Initiative. The teacher's initiative is very important. For example, if the teachers found out that in this particular competencies, wala siyang ano, di ba? So dapat before the day, ahead of that days, before teaching that competency, dapat meron na siya, magsasearch siya sa internet.
Fifth interview I conducted was from Division of Catbalogan City, a non-SBM school, on March 6, 2020. The school is almost 10 kilometers away from Catbalogan City. It was very difficult for me to have the interview because I have to hike 2 kilometers away from the national road, and it was rainy. The road was so muddy, but it's all worth it. All of the respondents were so kind and cooperative. On the level of the school head, he pointed that leadership has a total impact to the performance of the school and to the students in general. On the student's point of view, she was inspired to perform better because of the sacrifices of her parents. Magandang intervention yan, sir. So how does leadership and governance affect students' performance?
Leadership and governance is a great factor for the student performance kasi this will determine the total result or the total performance of the school, particularly the students.
What is your motivation in studying?
Sacrifices ko lang konti.
Sacrifices of your parents.
Kay since po na akong mother is nag-ibang dress po OFW. Bagan ako po naging ko na mag-stray back para mag-alam sa mga ganyan. Kung po influence po na akong mga sangkay.
The fourth school which I visited for interview is from Samar Division, an SBM school, on March 9, 2020. The school is almost 50 kilometers from Catbalogan City, where I reside. It is very challenging on my part to interview my respondents here in this school because for the past years, it was tagged as SBM Level 3 of practice until now. From the level of the school head, he emphasized that good leadership of all school leaders shall play the great role in achieving SBM Level 3 and practice. On the part of the teacher respondent, she gave importance to the parents' involvement in attaining high performance of the students. On the part of the students, they emphasized how the school management helped them achieve high performance. Parting message lang sa kapag estudyante.
Sir,
Para ba ma-improve yung performance nila?
sa akin lang po sir, self-discipline lang po sana sir. Kasi pag may disiplina ka sa sarili mo, kahit ano pang mga tukso dyan, yung kahit may barkada pa dyan, kahit may mga bisyo pa dyan, kung may disiplina ka sa sarili mo, hindi ka din magpapatukso kasi alam mo yung priority mo na makapag-aral at makapagtapos sir.
At that moment, ang ano nila is already survival. That's more on the personal aspect of the learner.
From same day, I traveled immediately to the municipality of Santa Rita, province of Samar, where I have my 3 school participants. All of them are not SBM schools. All schools have the same responses on how the performance of the students be improved. They talk more about linkages to the stakeholders, which can reinforce learning of the students.
Except school head, of course.
Yung school division.
Nagkati kasi dong o era.
Yung life skills ba, pag-alis mo sa akin, you can survive.
Tama yun.
Yan ang gusto ko.
The study revealed that there are varying factors that influence students' academic performance. These include factors intrinsic and extrinsic to the students, such as their family, peers, the community, the school, the teachers, the lesson discussed, and the school leadership. Among SBM and non-SBM schools, these factors become inputs in the planning and implementation of school programs and interventions. The pentagram diagram shown in Figure 1 is the emerging framework for enhancing students' academic performance. The framework highlights 5 actors: the students, the family, the school, the community, and the interventions that must be involved in realizing academic achievement. These actors, agencies, and structures are linked together in a didactic relationship. This implies that to incite academic achievement, an interaction between the school, the community, the child, and the family should be present and should serve as considerations in designing interventions. To operationalize the findings of the study, the researcher proposed that schools may localize a quantitative tool based on the factors revealed in the research and determine factors that affect their students the most. By identifying these factors, they can develop highly tailored interventions, unique to the context of the educational institution. Additionally, schools use surface level indicators of student-related issues, which fails to contextualize the root cause of the problem. The study forwards that the connections of the factors should be further explored by the schools through a problematic map.
Thank you so much, sir. Are you on board, Sir Pabiliar?
Yes, I am.
Thank you,
Nandito po
sir.
ako.
Now let's give the floor to Dr. Ramirez for the question. Sir?
Hello, ma'am. Good morning.
Hello.
Good morning once again.
Good morning, Sir Archie.
Hello, sir. Good morning.
Hi, good morning. I just would like to congratulate you for coming up with
Thank you,
this
sir.
kind of research. Just would like to clarify if you generated a model or a theory from this study.
Yes, sir. The theory is the
A
didactic
model or a theory?
model, sir. A model to enhance students' achievement.
Okay,
It's a
so
mod-
it's not a theory.
Yeah.
Okay. So if it's a model, what is that model? Can you please describe the model that you have?
Okay. Yes, sir. Okay. The model, sir, is the didactic relationship of the school, the student, the parents, the community, and the stakeholders. So to improve the achievement of the student, to improve the academic performance, there should be a collaboration between these agencies, between these actors, so that we can incite high performing students. Hello, sir.
Okay. Thank you very much, Sir Archie.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ramirez and Sir Pabiliar. And this time, we will proceed to our next presenter. Okay, from Northwest Samar State University, let's have Sir Gerald Malabarbas.
To respected panel of evaluators, good day. Allow me to present before you our study entitled Impact and Satisfaction Level Among Members of Rosario's Women Cooperative. To start with the introduction, it says that over a century here, the cooperative is said to be an effective platforms for people to improve their economic livelihoods and serve as a government tool in achieving economic goals for a competitive global economy. As presented here in these slides, there are other definitions of cooperative as presented by the different literatures. Accordingly, in most countries, it is reported that cooperatives played an important role in their agricultural development, by which the cooperative supplies farm-produced products, commodities, and services, and it gives improvement to the socio-economic well-being among members. Those literatures support International Labour Organization in 2017 claim as they reported that cooperatives are sustainable enterprises and they recognize cooperatives served as a platform of implementation for the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and Sustainable Development Goals and other private sector enterprises. In the Philippines, Republic Act number 6938, known as Cooperative Code of the Philippines, and RA 6939, creation of Cooperative Development Authority, are the legal basis in fostering cooperative movement in the country, which aim in promoting self-reliance and harnessing people towards economic and social development. Recently, in the International Cooperative Research Group report in 2019, the Philippines has been considered as a cooperative leader in the Asia-Pacific region and played a significant role in addressing the economic and social aspects among Filipinos. Based on the report, 13% of the Philippine total populations are members of the cooperative. However, cooperatives are facing with some pressing problems and challenges such as mismanagement, insufficiency of capital or funds, poor relations, weak leadership, lack of technical know-how among members, and lack of government support. There are few research pieces of research focusing in satisfaction and impact of cooperative in the Philippines that includes in Northern Samar, because the common studies of cooperatives are focused on the management status only and generally evaluated as good. This scenario prompted the researchers to conduct the study in assessing the cooperative impact and satisfaction. To that empirical evidence may substantiate the need to improve of women's cooperative of Rosario, Northern Samar. The study aimed to assess the impact and satisfaction level of cooperative members of the Rosario Women's Cooperative, Northern Samar, Philippines. Specifically, it sought to determine the socio-demographic profile, impact, and satisfaction level of the members of the cooperative. Second, determine the significant differences among profile, impact, and satisfaction levels of the cooperative members. Determine the significant relationships among profile, impact, and satisfaction levels of the cooperative members. And lastly, to determine the challenges encountered by the cooperative members of the Rosario's Women Cooperative. For our methodology, primarily, we used descriptive survey using adopted survey questionnaire and K-informant interview, which is adopted from the 6 existing literature. The participants of this study are composed of the 36 chosen cooperative members among the total population, and we choose only those members who have already 1 year in the cooperative in terms of their membership. So primarily, this study was conducted in Northern Samar and specifically in the municipality of Rosario, where the women's cooperative is located. We use survey questionnaire and interview guide as our data gathering tool. As what I have said, it is an adopted tool from our Lauro in 2014, wherein their instrument was validated and obtained a reliability value of 0.88. Then we also validated the instrument that we used from this adopted tool, and we obtained also a reliability value of 0.91. SPSS was used to treat data. Then we use 2 types of statistics in treating our data. Descriptive statistics used to describe the profile, impact, and satisfaction level. Then inferential statistics were used to measure the significant differences and associations among variables. For the result of the study, Table 1 shows the socio-demographic profile of the participants. Result shows that 55.56% are females and 44.44% are male. International Cooperative Research Group in 2019 indicated that cooperative members in the Philippines are composed of 55.4% women, which is the same with the result of this study. In terms of mean age of the participants, 56.67 years old is the main age of the participants, in which the youngest member of the cooperative member is 36 years old, while 83 years old is the oldest. Majority of them are married and having an educational attainment of high school level only, but others have obtained a postgraduate level composing of 5.56%. Then 47.22% of the participants have a regular membership status compared to 22.22% of the inactive members, and recorded with a mean year of membership of 10.69 years in the cooperative. The mean monthly income among members of the cooperative is 14,138 pesos 0.89, whose majority of them earned less than 9,520 pesos, though some have earned up to 38,000 pesos to 66,000 pesos. All of the participants have agreed that their membership in the cooperative has an impact on them, as shown in Table 2. Then all of them also have evaluated their satisfaction level as neither satisfied nor dissatisfied. This means that they are undecided if they feel satisfied or not with their membership in the cooperative. Table 3 there shows the differences between socioeconomic demographic profile, impact, and satisfaction level of the members of the cooperative. Results showed that monthly income indicates a significant difference in impact level and highly significant to their satisfaction level among the participants. Then Table 4 shows the correlations between socio-demographic profile, impact, and satisfaction level of membership. So data shows also that monthly income showed a positive and significant value among the participants' profile variable to impact and satisfaction level on their membership in the cooperative. The challenges encountered by the members of Rosario Women's Cooperative are mismanagement, lack of capital or insufficient fund, lack of technical know-how and personnel, lack of equipment for post-harvest management, and the presence of predators, and diseases. For our conclusion, the cooperative is most composed of women, married, high school level, and a membership of more than 10 years, classified with low income but not poor members for their socioeconomic status between the poverty line and twice the poverty line, as it is being defined by the PDIS. Then the cooperative encountered pressing challenges, as what I mentioned a while ago. The study theoretically confirms that the Women's Cooperative of Rosario addresses the agenda of the Sustainable Development Goals such as SDG 1, No Poverty, SDG 2, Zero Hunger, SDG 5, Gender Equality, in the sense that the said cooperative foster a positive impact among its members by improving their socioeconomic condition. Monthly income earned was significantly considered in predicting factor to impact comparative membership and satisfaction level. So thus, a substantial reference for Rosario's women cooperative government line agencies such as the local government unit, CDA, significant to community development, and NGOs responsible for formulating and implementing policies and programs that would improve the management of cooperatives, like providing continuous capability building programs and strong linkages to other agencies. All right, so that would be all. I would like to present to you our members of the research team. I myself as the presenter, Gerald Timala Barbas, and my group members are Ronnie Labru, Efren Francisco, Nizan Ogalio, Joy Silu, Bomotibo, and Mom Evelyn Vista. That would be all. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Sir Gerald. We will now give the floor to Professor Abusejo for the question.
Okay, Sir Gerald.
Hello, good
Hello,
morning,
sir.
sir.
You're on board. Thank you for comprehensive presentation. I would just like to clarify first, how many sample did you have for these women?
Sir, I have 36 samples in this study.
How are they representative to the entire population? What is the cooperative total number of population?
So there are usually, sir, more than 90 members in the cooperative, and we just only randomly chosen 36 out of that.
36. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Maybe I will not, because the presentation is clear, but I will just like to suggest something important on the paper. Because
yes, sir.
First, I would like to suggest that the paper should talk about women empowerment, because you're talking about women. It's very important for the gender and development aspect that will, I think this will attract for the journal publication. If you add there the content on women empowerment to highlight the role of women in
yes,
rural
sir.
development. Okay, because that one is not emphasized. I'm looking at your paper. And then one thing also, sir, for the impact, because the impact in a social research encompasses economic, social, and environmental impact. And I think you have not emphasized much of this research. With regards to impact, so substantiate the discussion, please include about these three, the economic impact, the economic effect, the social effect, and the environmental effect. And it's very, it will become more comprehensive towards your paper if you can incorporate this in the discussion. Now, on the methodology of your paper, of your result, in the analysis of variance, I would like to suggest, I see something that maybe should be appropriate, because in table 3, you said here, the socio-demographic where you impact the difference, there's the significant difference here. Is this satisfaction? Okay, significant differences. Because for your sex, so were there other, because it's a women co-op, and now why you consider still the sex as variable? When there
yes,
was,
sir. Yes,
how
sir.
many men?
The
How many men
Rosario's
was there?
women, the Rosario's women cooperatives, sir, are not only solely for women. There are also men who are involved in, or who are members.
So that one has to be clarified in your paper. And for the sex, how many male was out of 36, and how many women?
Okay, so in this study, sir, there are 16 male involved in the study and 20 female.
Okay, that's good. Sir, in the analysis of the difference, I think it's not F ratio, it's not F test because it's only two groups that's dichotomized. You should put here the test
Yeah,
statistic should be T
T-test.
test, not
Yes,
F
sir,
test.
T-test.
Okay?
Noted, sir. Yes,
Okay,
sir.
that should be, and then the
T-test.
marital status, if the marital status were categorical, then that should not be F ratio, that should be chi-square.
Yes, sir, noted.
Okay, ha? Oh, just to correct the table, the scientific presentation, the statistical analysis, so that you can really have a grounded analysis based on scientific appropriate statistical technique. That
Okay,
one,
sir.
ha? Oh, I don't know the membership status. What is the membership status? I think that's also categorical. That should be chi-square.
Yes, sir. Yes,
It is
it
an
is also
attainment.
categorical.
So you have to add here two columns, sir. The test statistic, where you identify like sex, T-test, age,
Yes, sir.
F-test,
Okay.
marital status, chi-square. Okay?
Yes, sir.
And then years
Because
in
I just only
cooperative.
put it in one table.
Yeah, because it's different also, different statistical technique inferential. And then you
Yes,
put
sir.
the degree of freedom. The degree of freedom will determine really if your test statistic is valid, because for a dichotomous, you cannot use F ratio, that should be T-test. Okay,
yes, sir.
that one, sir, so that we can correct. So it's not a result of analysis of variance only in table 3. It's a result of the inferential statistics that you applied on your data. That one, sir, may be for the
Yes, sir. Thank you for
correlation.
suggestions.
For the correlation also, if it's not the coefficient should be clear. Is it chi-square? It is p-value, or no? It's r-value, the correct person r, or chi-square correlation. You have to put also the
Usually,
test.
sir, I used here the person R, chi-square
Person R. But you cannot use the person R for categorical, sir. It will still be an error. Okay?
Yes, sir.
And I don't know what will be the result if you use the appropriate statistical technique, whether it becomes significant or not. Okay. I think that one, and then just revise this one, improve the paper. Then you can have, because you already have substantial articulation of your paper. Okay. In the conclusion, I have found it here, sentence like the findings of the study. If it is in the conclusion, we do not talk anymore about the
Period
findings.
for the question and answer portion.
Yes, sir. Thank
Okay.
you.
Sige.
And by the way, sir, in as much as we want to continue with the question, you may just personally address the question to the presenter. Okay.
Okay, thank you,
ma'am.
sir.
Okay.
Andy.
Okay.
Yeah. Thanks for the suggestions.
Evaluators. So let's start with our first presenter, Miss Erenea. Mom, are you on board? What about Sir Journey of Central Mindanao University? Are you with us?
Yeah. Yes, ma'am. I'm already here.
All right, sir. So for the panel of evaluators,
I can no longer hear you, ma'am. I'm sorry.
hello, sir.
Yes.
Sir Abusejo. Since Professor Abusejo.
Yes, ma'am. I think I will not question the presenter. Mine was about the experimental design, because in the first presentation, I wasn't able to catch up. Hello? Our host moderator is...
Hello?
Hello. Yeah, she's having trouble with the internet connection. Hello, Ma'am Janet. Ma'am Janet. You're out, Ma'am Janet.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, Ma'am Janet, he is the first presenter. I did not, I wasn't able to listen to the presentation. I think the panel, the presenter that I will ask is about the flip plus the blended, the experimental design. Presenter
All
number
right,
7.
sir. No problem.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome. Now, can I ask Dr. Ramirez for the question?
Yeah. Ask Sir Journey.
Yes.
Okay. Is this still a House Bill, HB 8858 until this time? Is this still a House Bill, or has this been enacted already to a law?
To my information, sir, I think that is still pending in the Senate, but that's already approved in the third and final reading of the House of Representatives, so it is not yet a law.
So my question, why were you commissioned by somebody to do this?
No, sir. Actually, the my research is, which is a requirement for my undergrad in political science, was 1 year in the making. We decided to make this undergraduate thesis way back in 2009, and you have to take note that the in 2000, I'm sorry, in 2019, and you have to take note that in 2019, that's the time in January 27 that the bill was approved in the House of Representatives. So in the Department of Social Sciences in CMU, we thought of conducting a study related to the bill, since this is going to be part of the law of the land that would really adjust the minimum age of criminal responsibility. And it actually, the making of this research was actually extended because of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Yeah. So my question now, what's your plan for the results of your study? Where will it go? Are you uh, yes, this relaying the results to the concerned institution?
Mhm. As of the moment, sir, since I've just this is my first time to be part of the Department of Social Sciences in CMU. We were actually planning to present the paper if given the opportunity such as like this in conferences. And I'm actually an SK secretary here in Bukidnon, in one of the barangays in Valencia City. We are still on the process of introducing this study to the city of Valencia. And then for the lawmakers, this is just actually an introduction study of the minimum age of criminal responsibility. This is not conducted anywhere else. So I think to answer your question is that if we would find any platform or any way to relay the result of the study, that way in this lawmaking process, the voice of the public will be heard as well.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome, sir, and thank you.
Hello, Ma'am Janet. Can I
Yes,
ask
sir.
Ma'am Rochelle? Can I ask
Sure,
Ma'am
sir.
Rochelle again? May we know if Ma'am Rochelle is still here on board? We cannot rate. We cannot complete the rating if we will not hear them.
I understand, sir. Don't
I,
worry, we will get back to them. Hello, Ma'am Rochelle.
yes, sir. I will try to contact Ma'am Rochelle because in their office they're having an unstable internet connection. But I will try. Perhaps this afternoon, siguro, sir.
Mhm. I
Hello, Ma'am Janet. Sir Andy has an unfinished question with our presenter from Southern Leyte State University, Dr. Francisco Buctot. So we can finish rating them. Okay, I'm looking at my notes because there are still presenters which we were not able to hear them clearly on how
Yeah.
how they answered questions.
I think Sir Lodi, Ma'am Janet is also out of line. Ma'am Janet, you are here with the microphone and video, but we cannot hear you, we cannot see you.
Yeah, that's the
Ano?
problem, sir, because we are rating anong
Yeah.
pa man ini pagkumpleto. So
Sige, I will ask if the 7% or from your university, what's the name, sir, of the blended and flipped paper? This, may I ask some on the blended instruction for swimming? Was this the one? The quasi-experiment? Yeah.
from SSU
From
yan, sir. Ma'am
SSU.
Donita Mabonga. Oo.
Because I don't
yung
have
from SLSU, yung per capita, sir, you were asking the data, the panel.
Per capita. What number, sir? What presenter? Presenter number?
Number 4.
Number 4. Let me see. Analysis of the per capita consumption.
Paper C9, sir.
Yeah,
sir,
C9.
Okay.
I have it here. Wait. Per capita consumption.
You had many questions, but the presenter was already off air.
Yeah, is the presenter now online? Are you on board for presenter number 9 on analysis of per capita?
Maybe we can request, no, sir? Sir Andy, we can request Ma'am Eva na lang for all the presenters this morning to be back this afternoon.
Yeah. Because my paper here said that they submitted to me this morning. There's no author. This is only for the best paper. So I don't have the author.
Same here. I know the authors. In fact,
At least
it would have been better if we were informed of the code, the paper code, because I have difficulty in
and tracing up in
who is the presenter, because they just gave us the title,
the
name of the author, which we do not know
which paper he will present.
Yes.
Yeah. For the blended, who is this from presenter 7? Are you around? Who is the presenter of this?
Hello, Miss Mabonga from Summer State University, sir. Miss Mabonga, are you on board? So the panel of evaluator can ask you the question.
Yes, I will just this is about the blended instruction for swimming education in the countryside setting.
That is right, sir. Miss Mabonga.
Ma'am, see. Even you, Ma'am Janet, no, your internet is not stable there.
That is correct, sir. I apologize for that.
It's okay. Ma'am, Doctor who or Ma'am who? She's not on board.
Hello, Ma'am, sir.
Oh, we have Miss Mabonga on board, sir.
Yes, Madam.
Sorry, Ma'am. Sorry, na-disconnect po ako.
Okay.
Sorry po.
Yes, Ma'am. I would like to ask, because this is your paper. So you're the lone researcher here or with a team of researchers?
Actually, sir, dalawa po kami ng advisor ko po.
Okay. This is your thesis?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Ma'am, I would like to ask, because you said here, first, this is effectiveness and you sort to quasi-experimental research. And for a quasi-experimental research, ma'am, we don't have much time. I would like to ask first, how many students per section? Because you have 30-30. Are they the total enrollment per section, or you just choose some?
I just chose some, sir.
Why do you choose some? Like in section for the assigned to the flipped classroom, how many were they in that section?
Sir, actually sir, hindi po by section bang. Random po sila. 30 for flipped classroom and 30 po for flex blended.
You random it per class. How many sections were involved in the flipped classroom? And you get represent sample. Hello, ma'am.
Hello po, sir.
Yeah. How many
Actually
sections
po,
like, yeah. Go. Because time is limited.
since first year, 5 sections po sila. So random po, every section may kinuha pong mga students. So they composed as 30 participants per instructional design po.
And what was the justification? Why 30? Why 30?
Nag-base lang po ako sa convenience ng mga participants kasi po since swimming po siya and it requires successive practicum sessions po and not all students po are willing po mag-participate. So
Okay.
nag-base po ako na
Okay, ma'am.
30
This
po
is the
ako.
thing, ma'am. This is the thing. Okay, ma'am. This is a quasi-experiment. Even if this quasi, it's really experiment and we do not violate any assumption. Now, in your case, you must have a clear inclusion and exclusion criteria in the research. Otherwise, your experiment will go to recycle bin if I assess that one. Okay? Please, we do not just divide a section because of the intact principle in education research. If it is one section, you have to consider all the section, and then if ever they do not pass your inclusion criteria, then you remove them out of your target respondents or participants. This is the thing that has to be articulated in the paper. I'm trying to share with you the validity of the experiment being conducted. Otherwise, it's not valid. It's not valid because it's not grounded on scientific basis. It's not for convenience. It's a scientific paper. That's it. So that's one very weak point of your paper. And then here in the analysis, because you did the 30-30, it already jeopardized the validity of the paper and the reliability of the result. And then your dependent variable you said earlier was the performance. So in the performance, the dependent variable did not come out in the analysis I am seeing your paper because you only have here the critical value and here's the chi-square. Chi-square. Where is the performance? It should be t-test, the effect of the independent variable towards the dependent. Our independent variable are flipped and the blended. What are their effect towards performance of the student? How did you measure the performance? I did not see here in your paper the performance being measured by your student because you have the chi-square, the critical value, and the significance. If they are the English, the literature, the RMT, what's this? This should be clearly articulated as the dependent variable and it should be t-test appropriately. The after effect, was there a significant improvement from the pre-test to post-test, significant improvement or decrease in performance from pre to post-test? This is the thing, and you have to compare which is better. You don't have the control group, so you should specify. There's no control group here because to use the two, which the control, the blended. Okay, ma'am. Where is the control group? I do not see the clearness of the paper in that essence. I'm scrutinizing this one because it's an experiment. They are not just a simple research. Where is the ma'am? So which is the control group? Do you have the control or the blended or what? So which among the two is the experimental group? The blended or the flex? Can you articulate?
Actually, sir, both po sila.
Both. So there is no this quasi experiment has no control group. It should be clearly articulated in your paper. Otherwise, it's a mess of the principles of quasi experiment. Experiment mangudit hiya ma'am, bisan itiya quasi, that should be clearly articulated. And then here you have the learning environment, ownership. Why we went to ownership of gadgets when our performance are swimming? What are the relationship? There should be the connect between these variables towards your being the dependent variable you measure is the performance. Take note, ma'am, what we measure here is the performance in swimming. The flip and the blended learning are the control or the experimental approaches that we do, that's what we control about. And sorry, in the paper, it's not clearly delineated, not clearly articulated, because you just compare the difference between flip and flicks. Which of them has the highest effect on the performance? Using the flip or using the blended? That should be clearly articulated in the result, which I did not see in the paper. Okay, ma'am. I hope you have to improve the paper so that it will really become
Yes, sir. Thank you
scientific.
po, sir.
There's so many variable and indicators that you consider, but I did not see their effect on the performance. You have the written and practicum performance. You must have the data on the written and the practicum performance. There should be data on that which shows us in the analysis how are they being affected by the independent variables. And you have so many independent variables in your questionnaire also. If it is practical, then what were the data? You should present that one. Otherwise, this is not a true experiment that happens. I mean, yeah, it's quasi, but please, even if you see there paired t-test in your methodology, I did not see that in the result. Because of course, it should be t-test, but I did not see t-test in the result. It's chi-square here. And where is the t-test here? Because the t-test should tell us the effect of the independent towards the dependent. And we compare both. Which is better? Which is more effective? The blended or the flip? So,
thank you so much for your inputs, Professor Abuseco. But as much as we want to accommodate that, however, we need to stick to the 5-minute question.
It's okay. Sorry.
Question. Anyway, you may personally address your question to the presenter. Thank you so much for
understanding. I'll go silent. Okay, thank you.
You're very much welcome. And this time, we will proceed to Miss London. Ma'am, are you on board? Ma'am Rochelle, are you on board? Okay, while waiting for Ma'am Rochelle, I have here a very important announcement regarding the presentation. For those who were not able to submit required files, okay, for presentation, they're only allowed to present, but they will not qualify for the award. Thank you so much. Ma'am Rochelle?
Hello, good morning, ma'am.
Good morning. Let's call in Dr. Rodriguez for the question. The title of her research is a proposed cluster model for the use of English based on economic development in the case of ASEAN member countries.
Okay, good morning.
Good morning,
is the presenter around?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, here's my question for your research. Your research is on English-based, what is that? Kindly repeat again your title, please.
A proposed cluster model for the use of English based on economic development. This is the case of ASEAN member countries.
Okay, so one of your findings said that English or being proficient in English has something to do with the gross national income of the country. Meaning to say, the more proficient the people are, the higher the income there is. Is that correct? Hello? Hello? I don't think the presenter is available again. Ma'am, moderator? I think she's not around again.
I apologize. Hello, Ma'am London. I think her internet connection is not stable.
Yeah.
Anyway, we will just try to go back to her presentation later this afternoon. All right, everyone, that's it for this morning's presentation. We will try to go back this afternoon using the same link. However, we are all inviting you to join with us in another Zoom link during the talk of Commissioner De Vira. Happy lunchtime.
Thank you, Ma'am Janet. See you later.
Thank you
Yes,
so
sir.
much.
Thank you so much.
Ay, Diyos ko. Ning ko anak. Pero mabalik pa nga di makaon laat, ha? Sige pa ba? Jen, mabalik pa. Di pa kami naman. Tanong kabulaw pa.
Julina Magdala na lulog siya.
Ay, my God.
Mahal ka mo.
Nakulo pa lang.
Parang ka man, nakapasiga after me.
Baka, nag-office ka gud ngayon. I mean ba, kinanglang gud magtuto ka sa half day?
Oo, gadlugod.
Ay, natuwa ko.
Pero na akong pakiana, sino ang mahingina na doon?
Little footsteps, we began to climb. Near a fire.